Being a PC guy, one thing that I like to do is browse r/battlestations on Reddit. And something you can always find in the comment section of any build is someone praising the build for its RGB, or someone hating the build for its RGB, or someone hating the build for its lack of RGB, or someone praising the build for its lack of RGB. And this is fine, people are allowed to have their personal preferences, at least for now. But one thing I have noticed lately is a trend from manufacturers moving away from including RGB in their products, and I actually think this is a bad thing. Now, before you go calling me some RGB fanboy, take a look at my actual setup. This is my real, high-powered gaming PC that I use every day. As you can see, it's almost exclusively black and white, except for a little bit of color in the corner that I will get to in a second. And notice you can't even see through my side panel, and that's by choice. So now that you have proof that I'm not some RGB shill, I still think RGB is important. So this is why you should like RGB, even if you don't like RGB. Before I get into all the good things you can do with some effective RGB, I want to address everything that I hate about RGB. Mainly, all the different proprietary software you need to control every single component. I personally use a Logitech keyboard, a Razer mouse, I have an MSI motherboard, and a Gigabyte graphics card. Each one of these components requires its own proprietary software just to control the lighting effects, and it is maddening. The market desperately needs an open source, third-party, one-stop shop RGB solution that anything with an RGB LED can plug into and get commands from. It's infuriating that in 2020, manufacturers haven't just opened up their RGB controllers to a single standard, and it drives me up a wall. But despite being unnecessarily difficult to get set up and running, RGB actually has some pretty useful features. And I'll start with the obvious here. It's pretty and colors are fun. It's like a lava lamp you can game on. Ever heard of mood lighting? It's really nice to be able to sit back after a long day and relax without sitting in complete darkness, but also without having some bright lights on. My friend's apartment is a perfect example of this, and they don't even have a gaming PC. They just like to set an atmosphere and relax in some cool colors. And it's not like you have to have RGB on all the time. You can have a work mode and a play mode. But if you purposely forgo all RGB options, then at the end of the day when your work is done, you don't even have the chance to vibe out. And like, are you trying to live your life like that? Are you trying not to vibe out ever? Like, check out this party I just had. Look at my keyboard. Tell me that's not awesome. I got the music bumping, the spectrum analyzer going crazy. Let's see your K120 do that. Now let's get into the real nitty-gritty of why RGB is amazing. And this is me calling out all the professionals, all the minimalists, all the like-minded, utilitarian PC people out there, of which I am one. Remember, we're on the same team here. RGB is so useful. So let me show you how I use RGB whenever I'm not throwing absolute ragers. This is my mouse, the Razer Basilisk. It's wireless and has this cool docking station I can throw it up to charge on. But this light here in the base station is programmed to show me how much battery life my mouse has left. Right now it's green, which means I have full battery left. That's pretty useful. Now let's look at my keyboard, the Logitech G815. As you can see, I have it set to a basic white, matching my mouse and PC fans. But let's say I want to do some audio recording and open up Cubase and boom, hotkeys, fool. Basically every professional software has a plethora of hotkeys built into it that can be basically impossible to remember, especially if you're just starting out. So why not map them to your RGB keyboard? Now let's go for the more obvious use of this, games. Here I am playing a game called Splitgate. When I first started out, I could never remember which key was which portal, so I just mapped them out. Now I know that Q is purple and E is yellow even in the heat of battle. Now let's look at some really cool effects that games are doing nowadays. Borderlands 3 has a dynamic keyboard effect that takes over your custom lighting and is actually pretty cool. You can turn this on and off in the settings, but look at this. The main keys get brighter and darker with the day-night cycle, and the F keys are your shield and health bar, and the number keys are your ammo. And let's say I jump into my special ability here, boom, whole keyboard changes to reflect my being in an armored suit. And now this is where I would show you that Battlefield 5 also has a custom keyboard lighting effect, but going back to what I said at the start of this video, I couldn't get it to work. It is infuriating, all the different software that's out there to control lighting effects, because I don't know if this is Battlefield 5 not working, I don't know if it's Logitech G Hub not working, but it is infuriating and a perfect example of one of the reasons I hate RGB, because sometimes it just bugs out and doesn't work for no reason. So let's say maybe you don't throw any parties, you don't play any games, you have all your hotkeys memorized. RGB is still useful for you. I'm guessing you probably have a pretty powerful PC, maybe even water cooled. Well, what happens whenever one of your pumps die? Most RGB software for motherboards and GPUs includes a temperature monitoring feature that changes the colors of the RGB to reflect the temperature of your components, which if you're water cooling can be especially helpful. Let's say you bought an AIO and the pump dies, how are you gonna know? Well, I'll know when the CPU starts to thermal throttle. Okay, but wouldn't it be nice to know that your pump's broken before your CPU starts to thermal throttle? Wouldn't it be nice to know that your GPU broke a fan before you're starting to experience performance issues? I think it would be a lot nicer to just look over and say, oh look, my CPU's overheating, or oh look, my GPU's overheating. I wonder what's going on, before you start to bump up against those thermal thresholds. The only downside to this, at least with the RGB software I use, is that you can't set the temperature set points to what color is what. So you're kind of stuck with what the manufacturers say is too hot or too cold. Again, this is why we need a third-party solution out there, because I know what temperatures I think are hot. I want to be able to control those. Give me control of the RGB LEDs, please. Ugh, it's so infuriating. I know what I want more than you do, Mr. Manufacturer person. So yeah, this was my first video / rant. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Be sure to check out my Twitch channel, Hydrogen PCs, if you want to watch me build computers and do other computer stuff. Be sure to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, share it with your friends, all that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one.